जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna and welcome back. Thank you for joining. Today we are discussing verse number 40 of chapter number 2 from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And in the previous verse, verse number 39, Krishna is telling Arjuna that thus far I have described this knowledge to you through the analytical study, and that is called as Sankhya. So from verse number 11 of chapter number 2 to verse number 30, Krishna discusses this Sankhya Yoga concept, where he reveals to Arjuna that we all are eternal and individual souls. And when we die, then the soul actually continues its journey through the next body. And then Krishna says to Arjuna that now I shall explain it in terms of working without fruitive results, Buddhi Yoga. So this section, verse number 39 onwards to 53, is section D of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, where the topic which is discussed by Krishna is Buddhi Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga, or sometime it is also called as Karma Yoga. So then Krishna says here that when you act in Buddhi Yoga, when you act in such a way with knowledge, what is the knowledge? This knowledge which is discussed in the Sankhya Yoga section. So the knowledge is that we are not this body. So when you are acting with this knowledge, then you do not desire the fruits of the work. And when you act in such a way, what is the result? That you become free from the bondage of the work. Means every action has a reaction. So that is karma basically. So you are free from karma when you act in the principle of Buddhi Yoga. So Srila Prabhupada, explains, or he has given us the understanding that Srila Prabhupada defines Nishkama Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga as Krishna consciousness. So why is that? So let's understand that Nishkama Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga is yoga of the intelligence. Is the meaning of that is we are working without any material desires. Means we don't want to enjoy the fruits of whatever we have worked in this world. So this is actually Nishkama Karma Yoga. Nishkama means there is no kama. There is no kama or desire to enjoy the fruits of the work. So you are working for the purpose of duty, performing your duty. So when that kind of work is done, it is called as Nishkama Karma Yoga. But Srila Prabhupada defines this as Krishna consciousness. And why is that? Because there are two different processes. One is a gradual process, or there is a direct process. So let's see the gradual process. So the gradual process is one understands that when one performs action without having the desire to enjoy the fruits, then performing duty in this knowledge. What is the knowledge? That we are not this body. So we are soul. So with that knowledge, when one performs his duty and without being attached to the fruits of the work or to the results, and this is the knowledge which has been talked about, then what happens? The result is gradually they understand that there is a spirit, supreme spirit soul, which is Paramatma, which is sitting in the heart. And then gradually, after working more and more in this consciousness, they understand that the Paramatma, there are three different features of the Lord. So by acting in this way, the knowledge is given within the heart by the Lord himself. So then there is understanding that there are three different features of the Supreme Soul. And finally they understand that that Supreme Soul is Krishna. So this is a gradual process. And then they surrender into the lotus feet of Krishna. So this is one way. But then there is another way, which is direct process. And this is recommended by Prabhupada. That you first accept Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How do we accept? We accept that on the basis of the scriptures which we are studying. And then we fix our mind on Lord Krishna, and then we perform devotional service. So we do the same thing, but then we actually offer that result of the work to Krishna. So when we offer the result to Krishna, that is actually we are gradually detaching. And by doing that way or acting in that way, we ultimately attain knowledge of the Lord. More and more knowledge is revealed to us, and finally we attain the lotus feet of Krishna. So therefore, Krishna Prabhupada is always, when the word Nishkama Karma Yoga is used, in the purport you will see that the Prabhupada defines that as Krishna consciousness because this is more direct process and it is easier for the living entity to perform. The difficult part is that accepting Supreme Lord Krishna as, or Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the most difficult part. But when we study scriptures, and particularly Bhagavad Gita, and after reading Bhagavad Gita, when we come to this understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, then rest of the other process is very easy. That process becomes easy. Then we have accepted the message what is given to us by Lord Shri Krishna. So here in this verse, today's verse, verse number 40, let's read the verse. Krishna starts by glorifying the Buddhi Yoga. So now he is going into more details about Buddhi Yoga. So, or Karma Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga. And he begins by glorifying how glorified this Buddhi Yoga process is. And why he is doing that, or why anyone should perform this Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. So in case of Arjuna, we see that he has given the argument that, or his third argument, that he will get sinful reactions. So to counteract that, Krishna is explaining in details the benefit of acting in Buddhi Yoga. So let's read this verse. Neha Bikrama nasosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapi yasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So the translation is, in this endeavor there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So let us discuss these Sanskrit terms. Neha Bikrama nasosti pratyavayo na vidyate. So neha abhikrama. So these words are na iha. Here is see na iha abhikrama naso asti. So na means no, iha means in this yoga or Buddhi Yoga. Abhikrama means in this endeavor. So if somebody is performing activity in Buddhi Yoga, then in the path of Buddhi Yoga, when one performs, there is no nasaha. Nasa means loss. So when one performs Buddhi Yoga, there is no loss, meaning there is no loss to the results what we attain while performing the Buddhi Yoga activity in the Buddhi Yoga. And the second thing that happens is, and is Krishna is saying, pratyavayo na vidyate. So pratyavaya means there is no diminution. So diminution is gradually becoming less, or reduction or decrease. So Krishna is saying that there is, in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminutions. And then Krishna is saying, swalpam api yasya dharmasya. Swalpa means a very little amount. And if somebody performs a very little amount of dharma, or they perform action in Buddhi Yoga, then what happens? The result is, if you perform even a little bit of dharma, what is the result? The result is here. Trayate mahato bhayat. Trayate means it will release you or free you from the greatest fear or greatest danger. So that is the result of acting even a little bit in the consciousness of Buddhi Yoga. So every single action of dharma we perform, the result is eternal, and it helps us to gradually progress in the path of spirituality. Whereas all the things that we have accumulated materially, that becomes zero when we die or change body. For example, all our degrees, or basically our educational qualifications which we have worked really very hard to get it, all our wealth, we toil a lot to get our wealth or collect or save the money which we work for the entire life, or our name and fame, or our health, etc., etc. Everything which we have worked for materially is gone, and the material assets are taken away or snatched away. Krishna is explaining that in Bhagavad Gita later chapter, that Mrityu Sarva Haraschaham, I take away everything at the time of death. So that's why we see that the death is so painful, since whatever we are attached to, or whatever we have collected, or whatever endeavor we have done materially, it is all gone in one shot. So the material path is all pains but no gains, because at the end of the life everything we have collected is all gone. But in spiritual path it is not like that. It is all gain, and then there is actually no loss. So that's why Krishna is saying, in this endeavor there is no loss or diminution. Even a little advancement in this path protects one from the most dangerous of all the fears. So in general, Krishna over here is talking about the transcendental path, and he is not talking about the actions in Bhakti Yoga over here as of now. So he has just begun. He has not even talked about himself, that he is the Supreme Lord. But over here he is talking in terms of transcendental path. So whatever is done, whatever act or whatever endeavor is done towards transcendental path, that will stay eternally, and it will save us from the greatest danger. So what is this greatest? So the greatest danger is not the death. Somebody may think like that's the greatest danger, but that's not the point. Over here, the greatest danger is meant. The meaning of greatest danger is not getting a human form of life. So the human form of life is the most precious gift anybody can get. Why? Because only in the human form of life we can inquire about our existence, who we are, from where did we come, what is our next destination, and so on and so on. What is our relationship with the Lord, who is the Lord. All this is possible, all this inquiry is possible only in the human form of life. In any other form of life, the animals or the birds or the trees or the insects, they don't have this power to inquire. So that's why it is very, very important to get a human form of life. Now, Krishna is saying that if somebody has done even little advancement, or even done some activities in Buddhi Yoga, then the next life as a human is guaranteed. So this is the greatest advantage of acting in Buddhi Yoga. And later on, actually, Arjuna asks in chapter number 6 about what happens if somebody has started this process and they couldn't complete it. So then Krishna explains later in this chapter that how he helps by giving that particular soul a birth as a human, and birth in the family, where that person can start his journey from wherever that person has left. So all these points are also discussed by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. So let's read the purport, what Srila Prabhupada has to say. So Prabhupada begins with the highest transcendental quality of work. So activity in Krishna consciousness, and as I said earlier that Prabhupada translates this Buddhi Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga or Karma Yoga as Krishna consciousness. because this is the faster path. So when somebody reads Bhagavad Gita and then they understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, then anything done for pleasing Krishna, and that is actually Krishna consciousness. You're conscious about Krishna's position and you basically engage in serving the Supreme Lord. So that is activity in Krishna consciousness. So that's why in the purport you will see the explanations are given in terms of Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada says, activity in Krishna consciousness or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification is the highest transcendental quality of work. So when work is done in such a consciousness where you are not expecting any results which will give you sense gratification, but you are trying to satisfy Krishna's senses. So that is actually the activity in Krishna consciousness, and that is as having the highest transcendental quality. That work is considered as the highest in terms of transcendentalness. Now, next Prabhupada says is no loss or diminution on this path. So when somebody works with this consciousness, then even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediments, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. So this is the biggest advantage. In the material consciousness, when whatever we acquire during our entire lifetime is gone at the time of death. Everything we have to live here and then start from zero in the next body. But in this case, what happens is whatever spiritually we have gained, that is permanently stays in our account. It is never deducted. Right? So there is no loss nor diminution. Or diminution means gradual decrease. So it will stay with us eternally. So work on material platform is temporary, and that's what we discussed earlier. Any work begin on the material platform has to be completed, otherwise that whole attempt becomes failure, and at the end of the life it is all gone. So that's why it makes sense to work spiritually, especially after studying Srimad Bhagavad Gita in details. When we understand all these details, then it makes sense to work spiritually with spiritual consciousness. Work in Krishna consciousness is permanent, but any work begin in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect even though it is not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at loss even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. So you start some project in Krishna consciousness and somehow or other we cannot complete it in this lifetime, but we have gained while working for Krishna, and that gain is permanent. So Prabhupada says 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent result, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%, whereas in material activities without 100% success there is no profit. So in Krishna consciousness, because it is permanent in nature, we get the benefit whatever you have done in this life. Like going to temple itself is beneficial. Then you bow down to the deities, you perform some service for Krishna, and so on and so on. And so many things, activities which we can do. Even here we see that Arjuna is going to fight this war. But he is a warrior. But even that fighting the war is a Krishna conscious activity, because his consciousness is that he is not fighting for his own benefit. He is fighting because the Lord wants it. And therefore, even though he is fighting and killing, there is no reaction to this work. And in fact, it's all gain. There is no loss. And then Prabhupada gives example from the history. So there is example of Ajamila, which is given in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6. It is given that Ajamila performed his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100% by the grace of the Lord. So he did some work in the beginning, then he was sidetracked for quite a bit longer period of time in his life. But at the end of the life, he just chanted the name of Narayan. and then he was allowed to continue his life for a few years, and then he could perfect in those years, and then he went back to Godhead. So this is the example that is from Shastra, from Srimad Bhagavatam. And this gives us encouragement that, even doing a little bit of activity in Krishna consciousness is so beneficial to us, especially at the time of death. There is a nice verse in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17. Taktva sadharmam charanam bhujam hare bhajanam apakvot atha pateto vyadi yatra kva bhadram abud amushyakim kovarta apto bhajatam swadharmataha. If someone gives up his occupational duties and work in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? So even if somebody gives up his occupational duty and works in Krishna consciousness, and after some time that person falls down, so what is loss? Bhagavatam says there is no loss, because he has done something for Krishna. So Krishna will remember that. And what if one gains if performs by material activities perfectly? So if somebody is doing his material activity perfectly, but what will happen is at the end of the life he has to lose everything. In the previous case, somebody did little bit of Krishna conscious activity and he fell down. So that will be more beneficial, because that is going towards his permanent account. So there is no loss for that person. So, or Prabhupada says that, or as the Christian says, what profit a man if he gains the whole world yet suffers the loss of his eternal soul? Yeah, so this is from Bible, that if you gain the entire world, but if you have lost your soul, your eternal soul, basically you have not gained spiritual knowledge, then you have not gained anything. Even if you have gained the entire world, it's still a big loss. So Prabhupada continues on that same theme. He is saying material activities versus work in Krishna consciousness. Material activities and their results end with the body. So this is the greatest disadvantage of the activities which we do in the material platform, or at the material consciousness, or at the bodily consciousness. Whatever we gain, it will be all gone. Krishna says, Mrityu sarva haraschaham. I take everything at the time of death. So this, whatever hard work which we are doing, will be all gone. But work in Krishna consciousness carries a person again to Krishna consciousness, even after the loss of the body. And this point we discuss. Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Means this Krishna conscious activity, even if it is done little bit, at the end of the life, we'll get a new body and a new human form of life. We will not go into the animal form of life. The soul will not go to the animal form of life. So that there is absolutely no loss. And that's why Prabhupada is writing, at least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmana or in rich aristocratic family. That will give one further chance for elevation. So Krishna explains this in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is asking this question, that somebody starts this process and couldn't complete. So what happens to them? So then Krishna says that per soul will get birth, a human birth, in the family of a Brahmana or in the family of a rich person. Why? Because if they take the birth in the family of a Brahmana, then everybody in that Brahmana family or a devotee family, they are practicing Krishna consciousness. So he starts that practice right from the beginning of the life. And secondly, a person who actually gets a birth in the rich family. So normally all our day, the entire life actually goes for accumulating wealth, our daily needs, roti, kapda and makan. Because that's, roti means, those who doesn't understand Hindi, So basically we are working all day and night to get some wealth, and that will take care of our basic needs of life, our food, shelter and clothing. So the point is, if somebody is born in a rich family, then they don't have to work really hard because they have wealth. So then now they can focus on Krishna consciousness or elevating towards the spiritual life. So that is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. So that is why this verse is so important for all of us who are having some inclination for Krishna consciousness, that Krishna is starting the knowledge. He's starting this explaining about Buddhi Yoga by glorifying that how glorious is this, that there is no loss or diminution. It is eternal in nature. Like the soul is eternal in nature, the work done in Krishna consciousness is also eternal in nature. And the second advantage, which is one of the biggest advantage, is, or the most important advantage, is that we are given another opportunity and we begin from the same point where we left in this life. And that helps us to move forward in the direction towards going closer to Krishna. So with this, whatever has been discussed in the purport is put in the presentation format so that you can study it more, and we'll continue in the next verse where Krishna explains what is the qualification required to perform this Buddhi Yoga. That is verse number 41. So thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol.